הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. Hesser.
We are on 10 out of 10. So we are on page 142. We are going to sing Shalom Aleichem. And Shalom Aleichem is a song about welcoming in peace and welcoming in angels also on Shabbat. And one of the things we read in the Torah portion this week is how Abraham and Sarah welcomed in angels and how it blessed their lives. They didn't realize that's who those people are. And so maybe we can try and act like angels ourselves, but also treat those around us as if they're angels and welcoming them and making sure we never know who it is that we're meeting, what they're experiencing, but we can help make their Shabbat more peaceful. We're on page 142.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachi Hasharet, Malachi Eyon,
Mimele
Malachi Amelachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem leShalom, Malachi Hashalom, Malachi Elyon, Melech Malachi Amlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruchuni leShalom, Malachi Hashalom, Malachi Elyon, Melech Malachi Amlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzeitichem leShalom, Malachi Hashalom, Malachi Elyon, Melech Malachi Amlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
We're going to turn back a few pages to page 138 and sing Lechado D verses 1, 2, 5, and 9.
Turn back. Lechado di likra kala, pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lechado di likra kala, pnei Shabbat nekabela. Shamor וזכור ודיבור אחד, הישמענו אל המיוחד אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד לשם ותפארת ולתהילה. להדודי לקרא קלה, פני שבת נקבלה. להדודי לקרא קלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לקראת שבת לכו ונלכה, כי מקור הברכה מראש מקדם. בסוכה סוף מעשה, במחשבה תחילה. להדודי לקרא קלה, פני שבת נקבלה. להדודי לקרא קלה, פני שבת נקבלה. Verse 5. התעוררי, התעוררי, כי באורך קומי אורי, אורי, אורי. שיר דברי כבוד אדוני, עלייך נגלה. להדודי לקרא קלה, פני שבת נקבלה. להדודי לקרא קלה, פני שבת נקבלה.
We're going to rise and face the entrance to greet Shabbat.
בואי ושלום עטרת בעלה, גם בשמחה ובצהלה, תוך אמוני עם סגולה. בואי חלה, בואי כלה, להדודי לקרא קלה, פני שבת נקבלה. להדודי לקרא קלה, פני שבת נקבלה.
You may be seated.
Oh, I'm so disappointed, actually.
Why is that?
Well, because I cleared this dance space last Shabbat.
You want to dance? We can
some
dance.
of our dancers just were feeling a little shy again, so that's
Oh,
okay.
that's all
we'll
right.
keep that space open.
We'll keep it clear.
Hold space for the dancers.
I like that. Next
We
week.
can dance.
Well, I'm
we
not
can
here
pray
next
with
week.
our feet.
I'll be on vacation next week. But I was going to say I'll break dance for you, which is what my definition of break dancing is me trying to dance and breaking everything.
Oh,
and
I
so
thought it's you dancing because you get to take a break.
There you go. Oh, I like that. I like that. We'll have that be my break dance next week. I like it. Well, we are going to light our Shabbat candles, bring some light into our Shabbos, and I always like to pick somebody different for lighting our candles. Vicky, would you like to light our candles? I know you're observing a Yort site tonight, so I'd like to give you an honor. Thank you for being here. Here you go. Go ahead and light those. Let's join together.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech melech
You're good now.
Olam. It took forever. Hold on. Asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu להדליק נר של Shabbat.
Thank you, Vicky. We're on page 144 for the Hatzi Kaddish.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה.
Amen.
ועמד יברח חירותי וימליך מלכותי בך
יהון
וביומייכון וחיילךו בישראל בגאלה בגאלה ובזמן קריב ואמרו אמן יהי שמי רבה מבורך לעולם עולם מעלמיה יתברך יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי לקודשה בריחו לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה תמירן בעלמה ואמרו Amen.
We are going to turn to page 146 and rise in body or in spirit for our call to worship the Baruch Hu.
Baruch hu et Adonai HaMevorach.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorach Leolam Vaed.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Leolam Vaed.
You may be seated. Read together the bottom page 148. Blessed are you, Adonai our God, ruler of the universe, who speaks the evening into being, skillfully opens the gates, thoughtfully alters the time and changes the seasons, and arranges the stars in their heavenly courses according to plan. You are creator of day and night, rolling light away from darkness and darkness from light, transforming day into night, and distinguishing one from the other. Adonai Tzevaot is your name, ever-living God,
May you reign continually over us into eternity. Blessed are you, Adonai, who brings on evening. Umavir yom umehiv layla, umavdil ben yom uven layla. Adonai tzvaot shemo, El chai v'kayam, tamid yimloch aleinu le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai, Hamari v'haravim.
Page 150.
Ahavat olam Beit Yisrael Amchata Torah u'mitzvot Chukim u'mishpatim Otanu limadeta Al kein Adonai Eloheinu V'shokbeinu v'kumeinu Nasiach bevokecha ונשמח בדברי תורתך ובמצוותיך לעולם ועד. כי הם חיינו ויורך ימינו ויורך ימינו ובהם נהגה יומם ולילה יומם ולילה ואהבתך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים. ברוך אתה אדוני אוהב עמו ישראל. שמע ישראל אדוני אלוהינו אדוני אחד. ברוך שם כבוד מלכותו לעולם ועד.
Page 154.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך וביתך ולתך בדרך ושוכבך ובקומך וקשרתם להיות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות להם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיהם. Amen. When we stood on the edge of the sea, having left Egypt, what we stood on the edge of too was recognizing that what we were leaving behind, the place we were leaving behind, Egypt, which in Hebrew is Mitzrayim, which literally means the narrow place, was this place that was suffocating our people's potential because we weren't allowed to realize that potential, because at the end of the day, we were forced to be slaves because of who we were. And when that sea split, all of a sudden, instead of going from a narrow place, you had this widening of water that our people walked through until they found themselves in this vast wilderness that represented possibility. And from that moment, we were able to thrive and continue to be here to this day. And so hopefully each of us can think about, is there a narrow thing in our life, as something that's strangling us and keeping us from reaching our greatest potential? And what can we do to get out of that space and find our wilderness that we might have to wander in, but our vast expanse to be able to achieve our ultimate greatness. The Song of Our Freedom is on page 158, Mi Chamocha.
Who is like you, Adonai? Who is like you, Adonai? Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la, ya la la la, ya la 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 la, la 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 la, ya la 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 la. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nehedar b'kodesh, nora tehilot oseh feleh. Nora tehilot, oh sefele. Who is like you, Adonai? Who is like you, Malchutecha ra'u vanecha bokei hayam lifnei Moshe u'Miriam ze Eli ya'anu ve'amru ze Eli anu ve'amru Adonai Yimloch le'olam va'ed v'ne'emar ki fada Adonai et Yaakov וגואלו מיד חזק ממנו ברוך אתה אדוני קהל ישראל.
Page 160.
השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום לשלום השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום לשלום השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום לשלום השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום לשלום. Lift us up, Adonai. You'll spread your wings over us all. Keep us safe and give us peace. Leshalom, leshalom, leshalom. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu leshalom, leshalom. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu leshalom, leshalom. Ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha. Ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha. Ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha. Leshalom, leshalom, leshalom. Baruch atah Adonai haborei sukat shalom aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael Ve'al Yerushalayim.
We'll turn to page 162. Sing the top of the page. Vishamru.
Vishamru B'nei Yisrael Et HaShabbat Shabbos Asod Et HaShabbat L'dorotam Berit Olam Beini Uven B'nei Yisrael Oti Leolam Oti Leolam Oti Leolam Vishamru B'nei Yisrael Et HaShabbat La'asod Et HaShabbat L'dorotam Berit Olam Ki sheshet yamim Asa Adonai et hashamayim Ve'et ha'aretz Vishamru B'nei Yisrael Et HaShabbat La'asod Et HaShabbat L'dorotam Berit Olam Uvayom HaShevi'i Shabbat Vayinafash Shabbat Vayinafash Shabbat Vayinafash Vishamru B'nei Yisrael Et HaShabbat Shabbos La'asod Et HaShabbat L'dorotam Berit Olam.
We'll turn to page 164 and rise in body or in spirit for the Amidah.
Adonai sefatai tiftach ofi agid hilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu ve'imotenu Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak ve'Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel ve'Elohei Leah Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor ve'Hanora El Elyon Gomel Chasadim Tovim Ve'konei Hakol Ve'zocher Chasdei Avot ve'imachot Umevi Geula Livnei B'neihem Leman Shemo B'Yahava Melech Ozer U'Moshiach U'Magen Baruch atah Adonai Magen Avraham ve'Ezrat Sarah
168.
Atah Gibor Leolam Adonai Mechayei HaKol Atah Rav leHoshia Mashiv HaRuach U'Morid HaGashem Mechalkel Chaim Bechesed Mechayei HaKol Berachamim Rabim Tzomech Noflim Ve'Rofech Olim Umatir Asurim Umekayim Emunato Lishenei Avar Michamocha Bal Gevurot Umidom Elach Melech Memit Umechayeh Umatzmiach Yeshua V'ne'eman ata lahachayot hakol Baruch ata Adonai mechayei hakol
Page 170.
Ata kadosh v'shimcha kadosh Ukedoshim b'chol yom Yahalelucha sela Baruch ata Adonai ha'el hakadosh.
Amen. We are going to continue silently on page 172 through page 180, or you can use this as an opportunity for your own prayers and reflections, and when you're finished, you may be seated. Be right back.
Elohai, Elohai, Nitzor, Shoni Beira, Usfatai, Midaber Mirma, Elohai, 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 my God, protect my lips from lies. Open my heart to see your light in my life, Elohai, Elohai.
We are turned now to our prayer for healing, page 371, Mishabera.
Mishabera Avotenu Mekor HaBracha Leimotenu. May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen.
This week, we think of these members of our community and their loved ones. Use a prayer for healing. Aryeh ben Yaakov Mordechai, Baruch ben Sarah, Gila Chaya bat Mordechai Leib, Begila Leah, Gila bat Masha Hana, Nikim Vega bat Gittel, Achali bat Mashah, Mendel ben Gittel, Imal ben Kovsky, Suai bat Sarah, Hab Rochel, Steve ben Yosefa, Yisrael Beryl ben Shirka, Yitzhak Meir ben Yehudi, David Laban, Maria Allred, Sarah Bell, Ed Bronsky, Ed Bronsky, Bess Brown, Angela Eno, nice to see you here. Always praying for you. Rose, Warren Goffman, Jan Hausman, Fran Lappin, Tanner Light, Megan Magleby, Mort Pellet, Burton Saltzman, Marshall Sanders, Penny Spector, Dina Stern, Soak, KK, Stephanie Walsh, Michael Winston, and Judy Wolf. Did you have anything to add? No, you sure will. Watching on our live stream, you also can share it.
Misheperach imotenu Mekor HaBracha Lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shelema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
Shabbat Shalom. Oh. I went to college at the University of California, San Diego, and I'm proud of that, by the way. It's a good school. It's consistently ranked in the top 10 public universities in the United States, and it's the only one of those schools in the top 10 public universities in the United States to be formed after World War II. It wasn't created until the early 1960s. And in particular, it's not just in San Diego, a great place, but it's in La Jolla. The nice, I got to be the poorest guy in La Jolla for a few years, and it was awesome. But the fact that I got to live in La Jolla was a tremendous privilege, not just because, again, I got to live in a place that most people dream of living but need millions and millions and millions of dollars to be able to buy a house to live in. Certainly didn't live in a house. I lived in a dorm room. But there was a time when I wouldn't have been allowed to live in La Jolla. See, in the early 1960s, Jews were not allowed to live in La Jolla. And why that changed was as Roger Revelle was founding the University of California, San Diego, he wanted to attract talent to teach there to make it a prestigious university. And so one of the first people he reached out to be a professor there was Jonas Salk. What was Jonas Salk known for? Polio vaccine. He invented the polio vaccine, eradicated polio. And Jonas Salk, though, was Jewish. And so he wasn't allowed to live in the area where he was going to teach. And so Roger Revelle sued the community of La Jolla to have it so that that rule would be dropped. And that's how UC San Diego was founded and why Jews got to first live, not until the 1960s, in La Jolla, California. And sadly, as Jews, we know what it's like to be pushed out of a lot of spaces or not allowed into other spaces. And when we look through history, we see that Jews have been pretty much almost everywhere we've been kicked out. But that's not the only tragic thing to happen. When we see how Jews have been kicked out of these spaces, typically what happens is that those places deteriorate themselves. They kind of fall apart economically, or they lose talent, because often we have a very industrious, a very well-educated and hard-working group of people, and the number of physicians and scientists who left the Soviet Union because they weren't allowed to practice Judaism or be openly Jewish was sad for those countries that would make up the former Soviet Union. Likewise, of course, what potential could have been given to Germany and Poland had they not lost their Jewish populations? After all, Albert Einstein had to flee Germany during the rise of Nazism. And I can go on and on, particularly when we look at the Arab world. Over 100,000 Jews used to be in Iraq. Today there's practically none. And Iraq was the center of Jewish learning. That's where the Babylonian Talmud was created. That's where Saadia Gaon was able to translate the Torah into Arabic and become the world's leading Jewish thinker in the 9th century. And then, of course, you have Spain, where Maimonides, our greatest philosopher, was born until he was chased out of Spain. And what we see is that there's a lot of truth to the covenant that God made with Abraham, that your descendants, those who bless you will be blessed, and those who curse you will be cursed. I take that very literally. Because in societies where we see anti-Semitism or the expulsion of Jews, we see that those societies suffer without their Jewish populations. And that makes me deeply, deeply concerned for where we are today. Because if you think about it, really, there's been nowhere in human history that Jews have thrived and succeeded and been as integral into society as the United States of America. I mean, a few years ago, about 10 years ago, 1 out of every 3 Supreme Court justices was Jewish, and it was actually going to be 4 out of 9, but then we had that whole Merrick Garland thing, you might remember it. But we've contributed tremendous amounts to the United States of America and helped make this country one of the great superpowers in the history of the world. But this past week, we saw a couple different things happen. First, we saw somebody who used to be one of the most prominent figures in television, Tucker Carlson, who a lot of people thought was someday going to maybe be elected president. He has been on this whole diatribe lately that's been anti-Semitic, where he's even releasing what he claims to be a documentary that the Jews did 9/11. And he and Candace Owens, another right-wing pundit, have talked about how Jews were the ones who murdered Charlie Kirk. And this was all a Jewish conspiracy. And this was done by the Israeli Mossad and stuff like that. And for me, as a rabbi in Utah, 40 minutes from where that tragic event occurred, that puts my life and all of our lives in danger when people make baseless accusations like that, who have millions of followers. And what Tucker Carlson did this week was he hosted on his show and gave a platform to Nick Fuentes, a literal Nazi, like proud Nazi in our country, who is racist, chauvinistic, homophobic, and vehemently anti-Semitic. And it wasn't that he interviewed him to ridicule and challenge him and all this stuff. It was to promote him and to prop up his hateful views, particularly of Jews, because we seem to be Tucker Carlson's target right now. So that's terrifying. But another big thing happened this week, and that was a mayoral election in the city with the world's largest Jewish population, New York City. There's no city in the world with as many Jews as New York City. And we saw this incredible election of Zohran Mamdani. Now, there's a lot to be inspired about that. Here in what was the heart of where 9/11 occurred, and where so many people, as a result, developed Islamophobic feelings, we saw a Muslim elected mayor, and we saw a millennial elected mayor, and an immigrant at a time when anti-immigrant sentiment is way too high, elected mayor. That's a beautiful thing. But what's not beautiful is that Mamdani, in his speeches, in his words, has spewed anti-Semitism. And I've gotten in a lot of arguments with Jews who say, no, he hasn't. He has. Saying statements like, when the boots of the NYPD are standing on someone's neck, it's the Israeli Defense Forces that laced those boots. That's anti-Semitic. Singing a rap song in which you're praising Hamas is anti-Semitic. Refusing to condemn the phrase globalize the Intifada, which is synonymous with killing of Jews worldwide, that's anti-Semitic. And I could go on and on. I mentioned my prestigious university. In the week leading up to the election, Mayor-elect Mamdani talked about how New York needs to divest from Israel's main research institutions. So, and we saw him elected as the mayor, again, of the largest Jewish city in the entire world. Despite over 1,000 rabbis, myself included, signing a letter saying, this is scary, this is dangerous. Now, some people have asked me, well, why do you care? You don't live in New York. You live in Utah. And we happen to have a great mayor who is here in Salt Lake City, who is a wonderful friend to the Jewish community. So why do you care? Why I care is that it's not really about Zohran Mamdani. It's not really about Tucker Carlson. It's about Americans saying we're okay with normalizing anti-Semitism. Anti-Semitism is not a deal breaker. Anti-Semitism won't get you canceled. After all, how on earth does Mel Gibson still have a career? Think about that. That is what this is about. And it's about that, yes, there are Jews. 1 out of every 3 New York Jews did vote for Zohran Mamdani, and some have passionately argued with me that he is not an anti-Semite. Whether he is or isn't, that's not the focus. The focus is that even some of the most left-wing progressive rabbis, like my colleague Angela Bookdahl in New York City from Central Synagogue, have said, this man scares me. His views scare me and make me feel unsafe as a Jew. And New Yorkers still said, here in New York City with 1 million Jews, that's not a deal breaker. That's tragic. So what we need to do, I'm not just one of those rabbis who's sounding the alarm bells and saying, we all need to leave right now. No. However, I do think it's incumbent on every Jew, based off of our history, to have an active passport. I think that should be a requirement of every Jew in the world. We need to recognize and have deep conversations with people we love that might be very challenging, and tell them, whether they're right-wing or whether they're left-wing, that we are seeing a normalization of anti-Semitism, and that's not normal. That's scary, because what we have learned through history is that it is not just us who will suffer as anti-Semitism rises. We saw a 62% rise in anti-Semitism in New York City this past month. It's not just Jews who will suffer. It's our entire society and our entire country and our way of life. So please speak out against that. And with Mayor-elect Mamdani, he won the election. He will be the mayor of New York City. It's important that he's held accountable to make sure that in the largest Jewish city in the world, and that when we have a right-wing government in our country right now that previously has been close with Tucker Carlson, our president close with Tucker Carlson, that we hold them accountable too. That the country, until very recently, that had more Jews than any other country on earth, that this is a safe place for us. And that is what will continue the American success story. And we connect that with our Torah portion this week too, because what we see in our Torah portion is that destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah because of people acting immorally. Anti-Semitism is deeply immoral. And I pray to God that our country, or that New York City, doesn't ever become Sodom and Gomorrah. Shabbat Shalom. Thank you all for being here. Cantor, thank you for leading alongside me. I always enjoy having you here. And I would love to invite you tomorrow at 9:30 to join us for Hazel Goodwin's bat mitzvah and lunch afterwards. And this Sunday, come schmooze with Kolmi member Mark Baer for a fascinating look at the story of his father, Ralph H. Baer's groundbreaking legacy as the father of video games. So if you like video games, you can come hear from the son of the father of video games, which I guess would make him the sibling of video games. I don't know. And so come check that out. That'll be a great presentation. Mark's just a great guy and is very funny guy and very blunt guy, great guy. So I'm sure he'll make it entertaining. And our Rosh Chodesh women's group's Understanding Homelessness event is on November 11th, this upcoming Tuesday. We are currently collecting women's hygiene supplies. Donations can be dropped off in the bins in the foyer, or ordered from the Amazon wish list to be delivered directly to Kolami. On November 12th, during the religious school, all parents and caregivers are invited to join us for a session called Protecting Our Kids in the Digital Age, co-sponsored by the Federation. On the 13th, we are partnering with Valley Beit Midrash. I'm excited about this, a global center for Jewish learning in action. This is a very dynamic place that we are partnering with. And next month, we're going to have an in-person event with them that's going to be filmed for synagogues across the country. But we also get to co-sponsor 2 online learning events. One of those is on the 13th, and it's with Professor John Levinson on Why Jewish Knowledge Matters, Rethinking Jewish Literacy. And this event is free for Kolami members. We have a Kolami Outdoors hike on November 16th, and our next dinner in the shul is going to be on November 21st, so a lot going on. And also, are you ready to level up on your Hebrew? We have some Hebrew classes going on right now, but we're starting an advanced Hebrew class on Wednesday evenings at 6 p.m. You can contact Golit Livnei if you're interested. A couple other things. We need about 10 more people for our trip to Montreal and Toronto. There's about 10 more spots. Come talk to me if you're interested in going on that in June. I'm very excited about that trip, which will overlap with the Toronto Jewish Film Festival, like the premier North American Jewish Film Festival. And finally, we are in the middle of our high holiday appeal, which goes through the end of 2025. And thank you so much for everybody who's given, but we're still a little short of our goal, and we budget for this. This helps us do our amazing work here. So if you'd be so inclined as to give to our high holiday appeal any amount, your generosity goes a long way. It makes a huge difference for us. So we're very grateful for your support, which helps us do all these programs that I just mentioned, as well as have meaningful services like hopefully you've found tonight. And all other things you can find in your Shabbat announcements and on our website or in your emails. Shabbat Shalom. We are going to turn to the concluding part of our service on page 586 at the bottom of the page with Aleinu. I'll invite you to rise in body or in spirit.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצא בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל עמונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
You may be seated. This time we think of our loved ones whom death has recently taken from us, and those who've died in this season and years past, and those who we've drawn into our hearts with our own as we remember them. If you hear the name of a loved one, you're invited to rise upon hearing their name. In the period of Shloshim, the 30-day period of mourning, we remember Roger Sandak, brother of Susan and Art Sandak, Mary Richmond, mother of Dan Richmond, Elaine Cohen, a local Jewish person who was laid to rest in our cemetery, Alan Hughes, husband of Michelle Goldsmith, and our congregant Sue Byer. And this week we also think of these hostages whose bodies were returned for burial to Israel this week. Itai Chen, an American Israeli. Omer Nutra as well, from New York. Asaf Hamami, a soldier who was off duty and ran towards danger. Oz Daniel, another Israeli soldier who was killed on October 7th and his body's taken hostage. And Joshua Loitu Molel, a Tanzanian national who was working on a kibbutz as an intern when he was murdered on October 7th. Their bodies were returned to Israel, and hopefully their families can find peace and their memories will be for a blessing. And there are 6 hostages, deceased hostages, whose bodies remain in captivity in Gaza, who we hope will return soon. And this week we commemorate the following Yortzite's anniversary of the death of these loved ones: Tom Barlow, Regina Benowitz, Gussie Bernstein, Dorothy Bernstein, Jake Cohen, Celia Doctorman, Max Eisen, Natalie Fast Rosenberg, Sebastian Farron, Muriel Fessinger, Dora Gallinson, Philip Goldstein, Rose Hintelef, Faye Hockstad, Eugene Ireland, Joshua Kaplan, Ann Leviton, Esther Levine, Erica Lowenstein, Carol Novum, Emmanuel M. Manny Pepper, Daphne Hanna Rivera, Molly Shapiro, Ben Zion Schreiber, Alexander Heim Solomon, Carol Tannenbaum, Natalie Webb Quinlan, Frank Weiner, David Lewis Weiss, and Vasya Sibernia. And if you have a name to add, I'll invite you to rise and share when I look in your direction. If you or have a name and you're watching our live stream, you're also invited to share. Zichronam Livracha, may their memories be for a blessing. If you're in mourning or it's your tradition to do so, you're invited to rise. We're on page 598. Yikadav, Yikadash, Shemerabah,
Amen.
Be'alma, Divrachir, Te, V'yamlich Malchute, B'chayechon, Uvyomechon, Uvchaye, Dehol Beit Yisrael, Ba'agala, V'izman Kari, V'imru.
Amen.
Yehi Shmei Rabba Mevarach Le'olam Ome'al Maya Yitbarach V'yishtabach V'yipa'ar V'yitrabam V'yitnaseh V'yitadar V'yitaleh V'yitalal Shemei Dekudashah
Richu.
Le'ela Min Kol Birchata V'shirata Tushbehata V'ne'emata Dam Yiram Be'alma V'imru.
Amen.
Yehi Shlama Rabba Min Shemaya V'chaim Aleinu Ve'al Kol Yisrael V'imru. Amen.
Amen.
Osei Shalom B'imromav Huyasei Shalom Aleinu Ve'al Kol Yisrael V'imru. Amen.
Amen.
May source peace and peace to all who are mourning. Comfort the bereaved among us. Again we say,
Amen.
Amen. Cantor, what song would you like to conclude with?
Let's conclude on page 634 with Ki
634.
Eshmera Shabbat.
Great song.
Ki Eshmera Shabbat El Yishmereni. Ki Eshmera Shabbat El Yishmereni. Oti leol mehiyad beino veini. Oti leol mehiyad beino veini. Ki yeshmera Shabbat el yishmereni. Ki yeshmera Shabbat el yishmereni. Oti leol mehiyad beino veini. Oti leol mehiyad beino veini.
I'll invite you to rise in body or in spirit for Kiddush. Good.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kishanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho b'yahava uvratzon hinchilanu zikaron lema'aseh reishit ki hu yom tehila lemikra kodesh zecher letziat Mitzrayim kivanu v'acharta v'otanu kidashta mikol hamim v'shabbat kodshecha be'ahava uvratzon inchaltanu. Baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat L'chaim.
And we have here a wonderful looking challah. Let's join together for Motzi.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu
melech
melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen.
Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Good to be seen. Shabbat Shalom.
Okay. I won't be here next week, but maybe I'll see you the week after. I don't know. Okay. Well, let me know. Like I said, if you help connect with the rabbis, let me know.
Hello.
I hope you're not leaving because I did that dance.